Hi, this is Jill Simonello, and this week we are actually in Tucson, Arizona, checking out, get this, the Hyundai Tucson. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about this vehicle. I'm not going to go in depth on specifications because I figure if you're here, you've probably already seen all that. So what I want to talk about in this video is going to be what I like and what I don't like about this vehicle. So before we get into that, I want to start by saying base price for the Tucson is going to be about $24,000, and that is for the gasoline engined vehicle. It will top out at just more than $36,000, and that will be for the top tier limited trim with all-wheel drive. Now, if you want the hybrid, so yes, Tucson is getting a hybrid for 2022. If you want the hybrid version, that's going to start around $29,000, and it will top out at $37,000. So I think that's a really good deal. When you think about the fact that the gasoline model is just $36,000, you only have about $1,000 difference between the two top tier trims. All right, so this is the gasoline model. This is what we drove today. And this has a 2.5 liter engine that will deliver 187 horsepower and 178 pound-feet of torque. All right, time to get into what I liked about this vehicle. So first is going to be the obvious, and that is going to be the overall design of the Tucson. I love the bold grille, and check it out. These are actually daytime running lights. You can't really see it here because they have a reflective material over it that looks like it blends right into the grille. But at night, and certainly while you're driving on the road, these are very visible, and you look in your rear view mirror and you see it and you're like, that's a Tucson. So I love the fact that this is very noticeable, very distinguishable, and incredibly unique. So also unique is going to be what Hyundai is calling, I think, the parametric design. They use the word parametric a lot. And basically, my term for it is Zorro slash. Because if you look, it kind of looks a little bit like a Z there. We saw this on the Elantra. We're seeing this on the Tucson. I like that it's different, it's unique, and it's very identifiable, and it doesn't bother me that it doesn't blend. So I really like how this looks. Now, I have one more design feature that I want to show you, but it's on the back of the vehicle, so let's check it out. Now that we're back here, I just want to point out one feature before we get on to the feature that I really want to talk about, and that is the tail lights. I love the unique design and the double dip here that you've got that comes down. It looks really good, especially at night when it's lit up. But the feature I want to talk about is actually something you can't see right now. It is the windshield wiper blade that is tucked up under this brake light. It's hidden so that it doesn't mar the design of the back of the vehicle. I think it looks really good like this, and I just think it's clever that they tucked it away, but it's still incredibly functional. All right, so now that we've moved inside the vehicle, let's talk about some of the cool features that I really like in here. So the first thing I want to point out is you can see that there are two 10.25-inch screens. Now, this is the top tier limited trim. This is not going to be in your base model, but it is in your up-level models. I think the digital displays look really good. They are very easy to touch and swipe, so they respond well to my fingers, and it just looks really good. So the interesting thing you're going to notice, though, this is hoodless, and the reason why they did it is because the LED or the display lights back there are so bright, they don't really cause any glare, and it doesn't need to be covered. And so far, I'm in sunny Tucson, remember, I haven't had any problem with glare or reflection and hindering the visibility of these screens. So that is going to be my next thing that I like on this vehicle. Now, again, because we're in the top tier limited trim, there is a really cool feature on here that Hyundai has started putting on their vehicles, and that is called the blind view monitor. So you turn on your blinker, and as you can see back here, your blind spot shows up, and it gives you a really quick visual cue as to whether or not something is in your blind spot. Now, you turn on your left blinker, and behind the speedometer, the visibility of your left side shows up in there. And I think it looks really cool. It's very intuitive, and it looks really good on the screen. So this is one of my favorite features in all of the Hyundai vehicles, so it makes number 3 on my list. So another thing that I really like, and I got in the vehicle that I was driving and the time was wrong, and so I get really annoyed when a clock is wrong in a car, and automakers are notorious for making it really difficult to figure out how to change the time. So I'm clicking in all of this stuff. I'm hitting all the menu screens, and I'm like, I wonder what happens if I just hit the time. And lo and behold, there you go. It was really easy to get your time settings. And yeah, we need to turn daylight savings off because we are in Arizona and they don't observe daylight savings. So it's actually 2:19, not 3:19. But again, makes it really easy to adjust the time, set to GPS, so it will automatically change when you change time zones. But I love that it was easy and intuitive. So well done there. Now, the final thing that I want to point out that I really like on this vehicle is going to be the fact that you can change how your cluster back here on the digital display looks. I'm not really a fan of this white with the little wavy lines. I don't like how that looks. So you can set the display up so that it will change when you change your mode. So if you go into sport mode, the display will change. If you go into eco mode, the display will change. But if you want it to be the same mode all the time, so you go down in here to your setup button, you go into vehicle, and then you go into your cluster, and then right here you can select your theme. So when you select your theme, so right now, like I said, it's linked to your drive modes, but you uncheck that, and then you have a whole bunch of items that show up, and the one that's back there now is Classic A, but you can do Classic B, which has more of a sporty look to it. I frankly really liked Classic C. That's where I kept it while I was driving. But this one will kind of blow your mind, and it might appeal to somebody who's a gamer. I think it looks kind of cool. The cube. So I love that you can customize this to how you want it to look and what you think looks good. And for right now, I'm just going to leave it on Classic C. So that is the last thing that I like on this vehicle. And it's time to transition to the things that I didn't like, and there are a few. Now, I have to admit, I was reaching a little bit for things that I don't like on this vehicle because, in general, I think Hyundai has done a really good job with the design and the implementation of everything they've done here. But there are a few things that I can point to. And the first thing is going to be, hey, look at that. There is no volume knob. You actually have to hit the plus or minus to turn your volume up or down. And I don't like that. I want a knob. And just pressing those buttons is kind of annoying. You do have your redundant control on your steering wheel, and so obviously as a driver that's something you're going to have to get used to using with the little thumb action, but your passenger's stuck with this, and actually maybe that's not a bad thing. My husband likes to mess with my music, so let me rethink that. But I really do want a knob there. And keeping with that, there is no knob for your tuning, so you have to press the seek or the track button on your audio system. So here we go, we'll go into the radio really quick. And if you want to change your station, you have to hit the button instead of actually just flipping the dial. And the dial is so much easier. Honda a couple years ago put the sliding for the volume and took away some of the knobs, and people didn't like it. So I have to admit, I'm really surprised. I like the general look of this, but the lack of knobs is a bit of a miss. Now, the other thing that I don't like, and I like it, but I don't like it, and that would be all of this black lacquer. I really like how it looks. It's shiny, it looks up level, it feels pretty good, but here's the thing. I'm gonna get fingerprints all over this. And when the dust comes in, it's going to look very dirty. So you're constantly going to be wiping it off and getting rid of the fingerprints, getting rid of the dust marks. And if you have any OCD whatsoever, you are not going to like that. That is going to be a problem for you. Now, another thing that I like but don't like is going to be the digital key. I love the digital key. I love the fact that they're doing, but here's what I don't like about it. You can only use it with an Android phone. So I'm an iPhone user, and that means right now I cannot use digital key on this car. However, digital key for iOS is coming, and you want to know the reason why it's not here already? Blame BMW. BMW apparently signed an exclusive agreement with Apple to have digital key on their vehicles for a year. So Hyundai actually has to wait a full year before they're going to be able to implement the iOS digital key on this vehicle. So it's coming, but it's not here yet, so that makes my do not like list. Now, another thing that I don't like actually pertains to how the vehicle drives. Overall, I think it does really well, but I did notice one little thing in sport mode, and that was when you punch the accelerator, it holds your RPMs a little bit longer than you would like. Literally 4 or 5 seconds of high revving, and I really just wanted it to come down just a little bit faster than that. So not a huge deal, but just a little bit annoying. It's a little bit whiny, and it's gonna suck up your fuel. So if you're doing a lot of twisty bits and acceleration with the throttle, it's probably not gonna be that big a deal, but if you're gonna be on the highway and you're passing, you're probably gonna wanna keep it in normal mode most of the time. And finally, the last thing that I don't like about the 2022 Hyundai Tucson is this right here. This is actually the turn signal indicator on the back of the vehicle, and in addition to being really low, it's kind of small. I really want it up a little bit higher. I think they could have done a lot more with this area up here, and I'm afraid this is going to get missed. So that's going to be the last thing that I don't like about this vehicle. Now, as we come into the end of this review and we wrap this up, I just want to give you a couple of driving impressions because overall they are incredibly favorable. I like the driving position, the seats are really comfortable, the visibility out of all the windows is really good, and overall this 2.5 liter engine does what I wanted to do, both when I'm merging on the highway and in aggressive passing maneuvers. I did notice in sport mode, as I mentioned on my do not like list, that it holds the RPMs just a skosh longer than what I wanted, but to me that's not a deal breaker. It's not a big deal, but it's just something that I noticed, and I wish it had been just a little bit more responsive in terms of backing off the RPMs a little bit more quickly. But overall, love the technology. I love how it looks inside and out, and as I mentioned, my absolute favorite thing about this is going to be the blind view monitor. So there's a lot of technology and a lot of standard safety, even at the base trim, that will make this a really good buy at $26,000. And if you want to have all of the up-level amenities, including that blind view monitor, you're not gonna really break the bank. You're topping out at $36,000. And then if you wanna add on and go with the hybrid powertrain because you want some fuel savings, it's just $37,000 if you want to top out there. So overall, I think this is a attractive vehicle with a very attractive price. All right, so I really appreciate you sticking with me and checking out what I liked and don't like on the 2022 Hyundai Tucson. So thanks for watching, and I will see you down the road.